Yugoslavia is a mountainous country and landlocked, except on the west where it borders on the Adriatic Sea. Long, narrow islands lying parallel to the mainland. These islands are in fact part of the mountain system which forms the whole coastal belt. The range to which they belong now lies almost completely under the sea. On the steep limestone rocks of the coast, terraces have been constructed to hold the soil. In this way, a few scanty crops can be grown: olives, figs, and vines. There are many good harbors along the coast, but the country behind is too poor to develop much trade, and the harbors mostly remain as small fishing villages. The largest port and most important coastal town is Split, the Yugoslav naval base. It is also used by small vessels as a port of call between the islands and the Italian ports. Inland, taking up a large part of western Yugoslavia, is the mountainous limestone region known as the karst. This region is extremely infertile, and little grows but stunted plants and mosses. The limestone is both porous and soluble. Consequently, despite heavy rainfall, these regions are without surface water. Rivers and streams disappear underground, often emerging from the rock many miles away from their source. Here is a large underground river emerging from the hillside. This lack of water in the karst region makes farming very difficult. Here is a typical orchard in this country which shows the poor conditions. There is little or no soil formed from limestone, and the only places where cultivation can be carried on is in the hollows where soil has been able to gather. These enclosures, surrounded by stone walls, where the karst is less mountainous, larger areas of cultivation are found. These are called polja. Here is a small village in a fairly large polja. This is a crop of tobacco, which is widely grown here. Maize and wheat, too, are cultivated in these polja. This is the Neretva River, the only one flowing through the limestone country. Let us follow its course into the interior. The barren limestone mountains of the coast plunge down into the Neretva Delta. Although the delta is liable to flooding for most of the year, as always in Yugoslavia, every possible inch of the soil is cultivated. The numerous streams running through the delta are used by farmers for transport. These baskets contain tomatoes. The man is carrying a sort of kale. On the bank, grapevines are growing and fishing nets are hanging up to dry. Sailing boats, trading with the coastal ports and the islands, come up the main stream. On the quayside of a small riverside town, a market is held in the early morning where the peasant farmers from the delta trade their fruit and vegetables. Now, we follow the Neretva River inland through a countryside which has seen little change since medieval times. Some 40 miles inland is a small town, Mostar, which has grown up at an important bridging point. River valleys are the natural means of communication in mountainous regions, and this is the only usable one in the karst. Here in the gorge cut by the river, the railway and road run on opposite banks. The railway is a narrow gauge track running from Sarajevo to the coast. One of the difficulties of Yugoslavia is that the railways are of several different gauges, making it difficult to link the systems. These varying standards are a legacy of the time before Yugoslavia was united into an independent country. Sarajevo, situated in an oasis of fertile ground, is the capital of Bosnia, one of the 6 republics forming modern Yugoslavia. The Balkans have had a troubled history, for the nature of this country makes strong central government difficult. It was on this spot, for instance, that the Archduke Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated in 1914, his death precipitating the First Great War. Yugoslavia has suffered badly in both world wars, and men and women alike have worked hard to repair the damage. Where reconstruction has taken place, a modern style of architecture is used in strong contrast to the older quarters. Here is the minaret of a mosque. For 400 years, some southern parts of Yugoslavia were part of the Turkish Empire, and many Yugoslavs still follow the Muslim faith. In the streets of Sarajevo, peasants in traditional Western costume mingle with men wearing the fez and women in Muslim dress. Yugoslavia has always been a buffer between Europe and Asia Minor. This accounts not only for the variety of religion and dress, but also for its troubled history. Not all Yugoslavia consists of barren karst. There are numerous mountainous areas of other rock, which, especially in the north and center, are well wooded. Timber, both in the natural state and in manufactured products, is one of the most important Yugoslav exports. In these areas, unlike the karst, there is abundant water. And here again the rivers are used as highways for transporting the rafts of timber downstream to the mills. A number of these river valleys in Yugoslavia are now being turned into lakes by damming in order to produce hydroelectric power for the new industry. Farming conditions in these mountainous areas vary widely. Here, for example, in the north, the lower slopes of the Julian Alps make good farming country. Apple orchards abound, and crops such as the sunflower, grown for the seed, and maize are cultivated. This is a typical scene in a sheltered area of the Julian Alps. The woman is drawing water from a well, and in the field beyond, patches of maize are growing. The sides of the barn are used for drying grass and hay. So far, we have dealt only with the mountainous areas of Yugoslavia, and in fact, most of the country is mountainous. To the north and east, however, there is a region which is in complete contrast to the rest of the country, the plain of the Danube. Here, one may travel through the countryside for miles without seeing as much as a rise in the ground. Through these plains, which contain by far the richest farming land in Yugoslavia, runs the Danube. It carries, however, very little industrial traffic. Cultivation here is well organized. Modern collective farms have been set up which possess sufficient resources to cultivate the land in ways quite impossible for the peasant farmers of the other areas. Cattle breeding, as well as agriculture, is carried on. Belgrade, the capital of Yugoslavia, has grown up near where the Sava River flows into the Danube. The city provides a natural focus for this region, which is the wealthiest of the whole country. Belgrade itself is a modern European city with a population of just under 500,000. These shop signs in the Cyrillic or Russian alphabet are another reminder that Yugoslavia is the product of many different nationalities. Today, Yugoslavia is in transition. Side by side with modern development, the traditional peasant economy still survives. The country is handicapped by difficult natural conditions, the barrenness of the karst, the lack of resources, and the mountainous character of most of the land. Nevertheless, much progress has been made, and in time Yugoslavia will surmount these problems and emerge as a modern state.